Welcome to The Business Fighter with Henry Penix. Henry has been the CEO, founder, and consultant to hundreds of companies worldwide. He retired a multimillionaire, financially independent at the age of 35. Henry grew up a preacher's son and was thrown in jail 3 times for various altercations. He knows what it means to come from nothing and have to fight his way to the top. Henry is the business fighter who will teach you strategic skills for winning in business and in life. Don't just spectate, participate. It's time to get in the ring.
Hi guys, this is Henry, the business fighter. Welcome to the podcast. I'm here with Chaz Wilson. Got to spend a little time with this guy. He's on fire for entrepreneurs. He's the best-selling author of 5+1. Check it out, The Entrepreneur's Handbook for Success. He co-founded and is CEO of Master Networks. I want to get into that later and ask him about it. And he's an advocate for the entrepreneur. He was telling me earlier how used to entrepreneurs were, it was like uncool to be classified as an entrepreneur, but now it's not. So I can't wait to hear from this guy. I ask all my guests to drop some special golden nuggets for my audience that you would normally have to pay thousands of dollars for, but I want to hear those during this next 15, 20 minutes. So Chaz, welcome to the podcast, Business Fighter.
Henry, my pleasure. Thank you for the invitation. I'm looking forward to this. Thank
you. So am I. So 5+1, I heard you had more than one child. Does that title kind of coincide with the 5+1 by chance?
Well, it doesn't. I do have 5, and there's not going to be a +1 more than that. So
you and your wife both agree on that, huh?
Yes. So no, it has nothing to do with this. It actually has to do with the 5 business disciplines and the 1 master skill. And what I found is that all business topics can line up into one of those 5 disciplines of thinking, targeting, tracking, timing, and team building. And then the master skill of connecting through networking. So that's what 5+1 is. That's what I teach. The 5 children, it doesn't have any title.
I thought I was being so smart because I figured it out.
Oh, no. I might use that though. If you have
Yeah. So with your 5+1, I want to jump around a little bit and kind of, cover things as they come up. But on the 5+1, I guess nothing really matters. Like you could have all the skill, you could have all the knowledge, you could have all the experience in the world. But if you're not networking with the right people, and you don't have an idea that someone recognizes, I mean, what good is it?
Yeah. So here's the thing for me is that I learned pretty early on in business that everything that I mean, if I look right now, everything of significance that I have is from a relationship, and it's through a relationship. You mentioned my 5 children, my significant other, right? And my businesses, I'm partner in over 30 businesses. All of those are significant because of the partners that I have. Right. All of those things come through relationship. We know it. We hear things like, we're the sum total of the 5 closest relationships around us. All of those Absolutely. Things we hear. But then why is it that we're not intentional about creating those relationships and surrounding ourselves with the right people? We all say those things, but are we truly intentional about who, not just what we need to do, but who we need to be around? And that's why I'm focused on helping entrepreneurs understand that.
Wow. That's huge. I say you can't scale with that relationship. If I can't trust somebody else to do what I would do, and that doesn't mean leave someone or abandon someone to do it themselves. That means sort of go back and forth with that person, hold the person accountable, have them hold you accountable if you need to. But that's called networking. And if you can't network, you can't scale.
Yeah. And everyone, I think, so many of us have heard we need to network. We know that. And then again, we're either not intentional or we don't know exactly what to do. One of the things I teach in 5+1 is an acronym called BOND. So this might be the first nugget, if you will.
Golden nugget. Yes, drop it.
So let me tell you first how it came about, because we've all experienced something like this.
Uh-huh.
It was, I had a young business banker calling my office all the time. Was when we first started Master Networks. Hey, I want to have lunch with Chaz, or let me go play golf with him. And right, that's what he understood how to network.
Right.
And finally my assistant was like, will you just go to lunch with this guy? Cause he will not stop.
He will not shut up.
Right. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do it. So yeah. We go eat. He takes me to Chipotle. We go into Chipotle. We sit down. From the moment I walked in the door, he started talking about cars. Now, the interesting thing is I could care less about cars. As long as it gets me where I need to go, it's reliable. That's all I care about. I'm just not a car guy.
The function.
Yeah, I'm not. So he didn't find that out. He didn't know. And I was bored with the conversation. He sits down. If those of you are watching and not just listening, I have a water bottle in front of me. And he took the hot sauce, right? And so he puts it on his burrito. And when he sets it down, it spills forward towards me and hot sauce all over me. And my brand new suit, first time I was wearing it. Can't make that up. That was
Oh,
the honest truth. First time
no.
wearing it.
Oh, no.
I think I even got up from the table, got napkins, came back, and he was still talking about cars. So it's
Oh,
like
my
this
gosh.
horrible, horrible experience. You've all probably experienced those where you can't wait to get out of there. How fast can I leave? We get up from the table to leave, and he says those magic words. Chaz, we should do this again sometime. Right? And I'm like,
That
no,
is so funny.
not a chance. Right? So I get in my car and I'm driving
That's
back to my office and I'm frustrated, but I'm grateful for the awareness of the moment that came to me is like, okay, I can't be frustrated with him. He does not know what he's doing, but I know how to do this. And I have not appropriately put this into a package that I could share with other people in the formula. And so we call it Bond. And it was that day I created Bond.
Hmm.
And so let me tell you what Bond is.
Please.
It's the acronym to connect with others. And truly it is a bond that you create if you do it right. The first is the B, build on a common interest. You and I did that immediately. When you got on this call with me, we started building on common people and common things. We both have a podcast. Like that tells me right away that you're a guy who understands the power of building relationships because you went right away into what could I build in common with this guy. You didn't talk about you, right? You built on common. And this is where networking and building relationships is important. Everyone comes in with the commission breath of like telling them, here's what I do. No, build on common. It could be the place, the location, family, whatever.
Perfect.
The O is occupation exploration. Now tell me about what you do. Now we've built a foundation. We have things in common. Now tell me about what you do. How'd you get started?
We're more relaxed now. We know
Yeah.
the same people now. Now let's get into the next one.
But now I can talk about your business. Think about networking events you go to. And people come up and go, hey, Henry, what do you do? Like, how about Henry? Hey, that's a great name. How'd you get the name Henry? Like, whatever. Start somewhere like that, right? That's how you start, okay? So occupation exploration. Then it's needs discovery, right? Needs discovery. Okay. Now tell me, what are you trying to do? You're trying to grow? Who are you looking for? How can I help you? And the D is develop an opportunity. So we build on a common interest. We do occupation exploration. We do needs discovery, and then we develop an opportunity. But too many people come in with that right hook to try to sell you right away, and that's not networking.
Right. Well, that's very good. Guys, I hope you listen to this. Henry Penix, the Business Fighter podcast. Please rewind this 5 times until you get it, because what he said was so important. Like he said, when we first came on air, we were kind of going back and forth with each other. We promoted a common bond that we both had. And Chaz immediately told me, he goes, what can I do for you? How can I add value to your customers? And I've had a couple of other people say that, but not a lot of people say that. And I was a little floored. It was like, wait a minute, somebody's always wanting to push something or sell something or get something out in front of thousands of people. But you said, Chaz, you go, how can I build value for your customers? And I said, drop them some golden nuggets, drop them things that people would have to pay you thousands of dollars for, and drop them on my audience. And here in the first 5 minutes, you've already done that. So
well, thank you.
So you walk your talk, man. And that's, I love that bond. And is that in your book 5+1, or is that a separate thing? No,
it's in my book, and we teach it in every one of our Master Networks chapters. We actually practice it. We talk about it, and it's helped me. It's not just some like cool thing that we do, right? It's helped me in actuality build relationships with some of the top CEOs, business speakers, entrepreneurs, authors. And they'll often say, man, Chaz, like, I just feel like we've known each other for a long time, or I feel like, we've built a really strong friendship.
Or I could tell you anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reality is, it's just a skill that I've learned how to do in building these relationships. And if you do it really well and you don't come in trying to sell anything out of the gate, man, I'm telling you, it will open up amazing things.
And I love getting in front of other people, because self-assessment is sometimes the hardest. Like, sometimes I think I can be the coolest guy in the room, and I've hit all the points, and man, I did so good. But if I asked my buddy, he was going, man, you screwed this up. You screwed this up. Yep. So these master networks, tell me, and I want to jump into how you got here first. I'm doing this interview almost backwards, but I want to go with this because I love it. Tell me about these master networks, because are you saying that people can get in a room and actually put some of these things into play and see how they work and give assessment to other people? I mean, because I know nothing about that. I apologize. Can you talk about that?
I apologize for throwing your interview all off. That's how I am.
No, I love it. It's a very good way.
So here's what Master Networks is. Like I said, I learned early on in the business that I can be transactional and I'll make a few sales, but if I'm relational, I'll have a Hall of Fame career. And so I'm trying to be relational, right? And with Master Networks, we build these networking groups all around the country. We're in 22 states. It's exclusive in nature. So if let's say you're a real estate agent or you're a chiropractor or whatever, you're the only one in that group. They're 1 hour high energy where we practice this relational building. I need to get to know you. And then we're going to add world-class education. And then, by the way, if leads and referrals come to you and we share business, great. But that is not the focus. It's about building relationships and education, where when there's other groups out there where they focus on just referrals and just leads. But then, Henry, if I don't send you anything, you start to see that that's the only value that I add to you. And there's so much more than that. And so, yes, these meetings are weekly. It's a monthly membership, and we provide world-class education and build an amazing culture of members, thousands of members across the U.S.
Wow. Are you in different cities now and have multiple locations? How many cities are you in approximately?
Oh, man, the number of cities, I don't know. We're in 22 states, several hundred chapters. I couldn't tell you the number of cities. I would say probably 120 to 130 cities.
Wow. And do you have a thing at the end of the year where everybody tries to come together, or do you just keep them kind of independent?
So every spring in April, we have something called Connect. That's our national convention. Next April will be our 5th year. We'll have 400 or 500 entrepreneurs come around. We're actually doing something called Kids Connect this year. So we're inviting kids from the ages 10 to 18 who are entrepreneurial minded or into personal development to come as well. My kids come every year. They love it. It's their highlight of the year. They love it. We just said, why do they need to wait till they graduate to learn this stuff? Let's invite them and have them come be part of it. So yeah, we do that every year.
Set the expectation now. One of my companies, I had about 1,500 children. It was preschools and early learning centers, and same thing. We would always give them something a little extra than society said that they needed to learn. We would always give them, 2 or 3 years ahead of their time, things to start looking at certain expectations we would help set for them. When some people said they couldn't cut with scissors, we would show them scissors and we would show them how to do it and find motor skills. The net result of that was, or the end result of that was, when they went into normal public schools, the principals would call us and say they're at least 2 years ahead of their grade. And so I love that. I share that in common. I'll talk to you about that later, but I love doing that and promoting that child and setting that expectation early so they grow up with the right mindset. So many kids grow up that don't get a real dose of the real world until they're 18, and then they fall on their face a few times, and it's bad. It doesn't have to be that way.
No, it doesn't have to be that way. So my children have been very involved in our business. One of my boys, so every year at this convention, I have them attend, and I had 3 rules. One, they had to show up, meaning they had to be present, no cell phones. They can't be, they have to be present.
Yep. They can't be playing Fortnite in the background.
First of all, my kids, no.
I know. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Second of all, they have to dress up. So they have to show up. They have to dress up. So they're nice. Dressed. And then they have to write a report on everything they've learned.
Wow.
And so that started 4 years ago at our first event. And, I walked on stage. I saw one of my middle child, and he was giving me the thumb, grinning, ear to, like, so excited. He thought, I was in front of 100 people. That's how small it was the first time. And he's like, Dad's famous. It's like,
yeah, he's on stage.
And so they wrote these reports. Well, all of this stuff has been rubbing off. They would listen to our podcast. They watch our videos. They listen to people like you that I connect with. And my son and my daughter came to me and said, Dad, coming up for Connect, we want to take our notes for the last 2 years and we want to turn it into a book. And so they turned it into an ebook. And my 10-year-old at that time, he's 12 now, a 10-year-old, he got on stage in front of 400 people that year. And he spent 10 minutes on stage talking about the value of these notes. And he sold it. He pitched it for $3.99. You could buy a copy of this ebook of their notes.
Right.
He made $1,200.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So imagine if you could go back to being 10 years old at the time.
Yep.
Had enough confidence to get on a stage in front of 400 people.
Yes.
Pitch anything. Doesn't matter. The price is irrelevant.
Yes.
And to make $1,200. I mean, at 10 years old, $1,200. I mean, for most people, $1,200, right?
No, that's huge.
He goes to school. He talks about it. He's teaching other kids. Like, this is the thing that I think as an entrepreneur, we're all listening to this podcast. We have a duty and an obligation to help the next generation learn this stuff.
No, I agree totally. And if you don't have kids, get them introduced to this, and you'll know somebody that does have kids. Like, we're talking about our next generation. If you never have kids, be selfish enough for yourself to prepare the next generation for greatness. And this is how you do it. Chaz, wow. I didn't expect this much this fast, but I love it. I love it. While we've got people tuned in. So speaking of kids, how did you grow up? Did you have a great childhood, a bad childhood? Were you rich? Were you poor? Were you medium? And what got you so interested in being an entrepreneur? Because that takes a gift and a calling. Because to reach out to entrepreneurs, you have to understand them. And to understand them, you would have had to have lived it some. So ramp me up to where you are today. How did you get here?
Well, I'll be brief because I think I'm the only one that thinks the story's interesting. But no, I had a great childhood. I mean, I have 2 loving parents and great siblings. We're close. So I don't have that kind of story. And I feel like, in some ways, I love the people that have those stories of like, fighting. And also, I just didn't. The only thing that I had that was my challenge is, quite honestly, is I was a small, scrawny, redheaded kid that got picked on a lot. And that was my fight. And I found my ability in sports to excel, and I got confidence. But it was in high school where I had a friend whose father owned a hat company, still does, ball caps. And I used to just hang out with them, and I loved the hats. And I would get first choice of these college hats. And I would start wearing them. And my friend's like, "Where'd you get that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got it, but I got it from the maker. Like they make these." And they say, "Oh, I want one." So I'd go back to him. I said, "Hey, my buddies want some." He's like, "Okay." He's like, "I'll tell you what, you can have any hat you want, any sizes. $5 is my wholesale price. You can have it for $5. You can sell it for whatever. You just can't sell it for more than what they sell in the stores."
Right.
And so if you can imagine, here's me in, I think it was 11th grade, and I've got my locker and open my locker, and I've got hats hanging in my locker. And I mean, I'm just dealing.
That was your warehouse.
Oh yeah. Out of the back of my car. Yeah. And I'm just selling hats like crazy. And I'm making $10, $15 a hat. And I'm like, this margin is cool.
Oh my God.
I love this idea. And in high school, I'm like, if I can make $50 in between classes, this is great.
Yep.
It was cool until the school wanted their cut, and they're like,
"Did they really?"
Well, I don't think so. They just
kind of a backwards way.
Yeah, you can't do this, unless.
Yeah.
But it is what opened my eyes to being an entrepreneur, and I think that's what set me on a path of going. And I always, and my mother will probably watch this because she's very involved in our organization from a member standpoint. She has her own business. She's very entrepreneurial. Is that I always asked why. Like from a very early age, she'd tell me, like, we'd say, "We're going to go do this." Or your teachers would say, "He's a really good boy, but he always needs to know why we're doing something."
Wow.
Because I always thought maybe it was a waste of time. Why are we doing this?
Yeah, exactly. But she instilled that in you as a young child.
Mm-hmm.
Always know the why. What's her name?
My mother?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Lynn. My mother, Lynn, and she's a member of Master Networks. She has her own business, and she's been a great example for me.
Hey, so you did a great job with your child. Thank you very much. It's given him the ability now to ask why enough to drop these golden nuggets, and they've been awesome. You've got to be very, very proud of him. So shout out to her. My mom's very involved too. They tell me, they go, "Henry, you're kind of a mama's boy." I said, "Amen." You can say that again. That's something I'm proud of. That's something I don't shy away from.
That's right. That's right.
After all, if she wasn't her, I wouldn't be me. Right.
That's it.
So, But anyway, well, man, this has been amazing. I've loved my time with you guys. Please go back and listen to this podcast 2 or 3 times. People always ask me, they say, "Henry, you've been all around the world. You've spoken in front of 20, 30,000 people at a time. Like, what can I do for you?" And I really get those requests. And I ask people, I said, "Look, what you can do for me is take podcasts like this with this level of quality and send it to your 10 best friends right now." I love what you said earlier, Chaz, about, things are useless unless you take action on them, unless you actually get involved. You can talk about networking, but until you do it, you won't see the reaction, the action, the execution, and the end result. So if you guys will take this, stop now, send it to 10 people, like it, subscribe to it, whatever you do. Go look up Chaz. Chaz, real quick, let me do a little quick station break. Tell people how they can get a hold of you and where they can find you. I don't want to forget this.
Yeah, thank you very much. So they can go to chazwilson.com or masternetworks.com. That's our websites. Or you can find me on any of the social media. Again, Master Networks or Chaz Wilson. You can Instagram, Facebook. I have a whole team. You'll find our stuff, YouTube, LinkedIn, we're on all of those major stations, if you will, and we put out daily content, and we'd just be honored if you followed any of it.
Yeah, guys, please do it. I promise my listeners, I won't have anyone on this podcast unless they have the heart. And you, dude, you have the heart in multiples. And I thank you for taking your time, for being honest, for being asking me what you can do to help my audience and how you can feed into that. That meant the world to me. Guys, think about this. Listen to it 2 or 3 times. Send it to 10 of your best friends. Henry Penix, the business fighter, Chaz Wilson. Guys, look us up. Follow both of us. You're going to be better for it. Give this away to somebody. Do something great and watch how it comes back to you. Thank you guys so much. Chaz, thank you.
Thanks, Henry.